it's Dr. Parikh, and I wanted to talk briefly about kind of content warnings with this class. We talk about a lot of really heavy and dark topics, including things like violence against women. Some of the weeks, a lot of the readings and videos are really, really heavy. So for this course, think, especially as you're doing your autobiography, part of the goal is for you to think about the topics that are really personal to you. And my guess is that there will also be some content that you were not necessarily aware of before. So some new things you might learn. And some of the discussions in the Blackboard will be heavy. As I mentioned, when we talk about sexual assault, assume that somebody, at least one person, probably several, maybe even a handful of people reading will have experienced sexual assault, and most of us have someone we love who has experienced sexual assault, and you may not even know that. When we talk about violence in relationships, there can also be a lot of victim blaming, a lot of, people should just leave relationships. And some of the resources in class will directly talk about why those are problematic statements. But it's still really, if you haven't experienced an abusive relationship, it can be very difficult to imagine it happening, how it could happen to like a normal person. And I think it's a mix of both choosing victims, so people who are abusive are kind of good at figuring out who will be compliant, and also just the grooming process. So some of that is, kind of, and it may be people with backgrounds that have set them up to continue to be vulnerable. It could also be just, again, someone knowing the right place and time, and going through the kind of the grooming process. So with all this said, none of this is meant to be a surprise punch. So the topics for each week will tell you what's coming up. Keep in mind that it's going to get heavy, it's going to get dark, and when I prep and when I teach for this course, it gets heavy and dark for me too. And that is part of why I'm very intentional in how I stack things. So I try to make sure that I don't end on the heaviest things. So I try to put what I consider the heaviest weeks kind of in the middle, and I end with a focus on advocacy, including you doing an advocacy project. I also don't want you feeling like you're going through this alone, so really do check in with me, email, come to office hours. You can even call me on my office phone, like we're old-timey pals. So feel free to be in contact with me. I will be in the discussion boards, but I also try to let that be somewhat of a student-led space because I lead so much of the course. I want to give you all a time to share your experience and the things that you're pulling out and the things that you're finding. But I'll be in the discussion boards. But also that's why I use the discussion boards the way I do, because I want you all to have some authentic connections through there. I want to give you spaces and times to say, this is really hard. And again, I want you to always tread gently and always assume even things that feel very far off and sort of almost fantastical to you may be someone's lived experience or the lived experience of someone they love. So be gentle with yourselves. I do not recommend doing the readings and videos on violence against women like right before going to bed, or if you're going to be home alone for the weekend or something, be intentional about when you do readings and tasks for the course. Maybe plan something social, especially if there's something is going to be very difficult for you to kind of shake off. Have a plan for what you're going to do after, whether it's self-care by yourself or intentionally doing it right before a work shift, if you know that that's going to help you kind of ground in the moment and not just keep perseverating or going over and over some of the difficult content. Again, I don't have content warnings built in each week, but the topic is pretty clearly, like it is what it is. If you have any questions about specific things, if you want to know if there's going to be content in specific videos and readings, let me know. I'll do my best. But I could also put out, if I can't remember exactly, I might also put out sort of, hey, an anonymous student would really love it if anyone who is doing the readings early, if you notice anything about this topic, if you could give them a heads up, that would be great. But also with this topic, with as much difficult stuff as there is, to some extent, you just, the class is the content warning, and, take breaks for yourself. Try not to leave things to last minute so that you can take a break if you're having a reaction. If you have tried to plan ahead and you are really struggling with something, reach out to me. Maybe sometimes we can find alternate assignments or figure things out. And if you ever have concerns, I want you to know we have counseling resources on campus. There are many different emergency life-saving support lines that you can reach out to, including ones that you can text. There's also Save of Essex County. I don't have anything built into the course about them, but that could be a great resource to partner with as part of an advocacy project as well. But we have, if you or a loved one is experiencing relationship violence or has experienced sexual assault and need resources, I am happy to help connect you with them. We have Abdul Staten on campus, does a fabulous job. If you just want to know more about resources, you can talk to him. And the beautiful thing is his services can be more confidential. As a professor, sometimes things get a little sticky, but for Abdul, there's less to navigate. Same thing with counseling services. All of us will want to keep you safe, but Abdul and counseling services have more confidentiality, flexibility. So there's lots of resources, counseling. Even if you don't have particular, specific backgrounds of violence, this class can still bring up topics. And so it's good to know that there are resources and that you're not the only one feeling things. All right, take good care. Bye-bye.